Hey folks, Jermaine Farrell in the house. And I tell you what, this is such a special day. It was 75 years ago today that NASCAR was born. And of course, who better to talk about it? A guy that's had a close connection with NASCAR for years. His grandfather built the Martinsville Speedway. And of course, now he's running the Martinsville Speedway, Clay Campbell. And Clay, how you doing, sir?
I'm great, Jermaine. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. I got to ask you, what does this day mean to you personally?
It's a big day, not only for me, but for so many people that have been a part of this sport that, newcomers that are a part of it, whether they're working in the business or a fan. You think about 75 years ago today, Bill France Sr. got 24 car owners, drivers, mechanics, local government officials all together in a smoky room in Daytona Beach at the Streamline Hotel, and talked about what can we do to form an association that can protect all of the different entities that we're talking about today. And we've got NASCAR. So 75 years ago, it started like that. 75 years ago today, and now look what NASCAR has become. It's incredible. I haven't been a part of it. I haven't been a part of it for the entire time. This Speedway has, and that's, it's a proud moment for us and for the France family, Bill France Sr. to start NASCAR. It still remains in the family. I think that speaks volumes for what they have committed to the sport of auto racing, the passion that they have for it. I think the family values that they bring forth to apply to our sport has certainly paid off, and it's a big day for all of us.
What was your earliest memory of NASCAR?
I don't know. It'd go way back because I would go to Daytona with my grandfather for whether it be for race weekends or meetings, or just if he was going down, because you got to remember the France family were 50-50 partners with us here at Martinsville since mid 1950s. So we had a close relationship with the France family, and we'd go down there and go to dinner with Bill Sr. and Annie B, his wife, go out on their boat. So I've said it several times today, I'm one of the few people in this sport now that had the pleasure of knowing and learning from Bill Sr. There are not many people that can say that. So I've actually had the opportunity to learn from Bill Sr., Bill Jr., Jim France, who runs the company now. So I've been pretty blessed.
You talk about that connection that your family and the France family's had all these years. How neat and special is it to have that connection all these years? Because I mean, in fact, like we talked about, we just celebrated 75 years of Martinsville, and now, of course, it's 75 years of NASCAR. But, just talk about that special connection between your family and the France family.
It's always been really close. So we kind of parallel with Bill Sr. and my grandfather. Then I'm really close with Jim France now, but Lisa, Bill Jr.'s daughter, Lisa France Kennedy, she's about my age. So, she's high up in the leadership in Daytona. So it's been close all these years. They're an extended family of ours, and I know it works both ways, but to be able to, especially for me, as I was growing up, knowing Bill Sr., to be able to pick up this telephone and call him and ask a question, what would you do, Mr. France? Same thing with Bill Jr. and Jim and I talk frequently today, but to have that opportunity and that luxury of tapping into the resources that they had, whether it be them or company wide, we were able to pick up on that. So that helped a lot in the progress and moving forward here at Martinsville Speedway, and still does today, for that matter.
When you look at Martinsville, like I said, we just celebrated 75 years, and you look back at all those pictures, and then on the horizon, we have 75 years of NASCAR. So it's almost like for you personally, it's all like a 2-year celebration when you have Martinsville with 75 years. We just wrapped that up at 75 years of of NASCAR. But when you look at it, I mean, when you saw those pictures and all the history, not only with Martinsville and NASCAR, how neat was it to see that history?
Oh, it's cool. And you're right. It's 2 years of celebration. And this year was certainly a trip down memory lane for everyone here at Martinsville. There's been so many moments in time uh, that will be etched in the history books. And as we've wrapped up this year with the last lap with Ross Chastain, that will be part of NASCAR's history from now forever. So there's been so many things that's happened here. Now we go into the 75th of NASCAR to look at everything that is going on in NASCAR from day one throughout time. It's incredible because I think the one thing that's been constant in NASCAR from day one is change. And you've seen a lot of change in NASCAR, particularly in the last couple of years or a little more than that. But I think that's something that keeps us relevant, keeps us, at the forefront of our fans. And it's exciting times for us.
When I look at NASCAR, I remember as a kid, I think the first race I ever saw, I think it was the Daytona 500, which was the first time they ever put that on TV, flag to
Yeah.
flag live coverage. I think that was 79, I believe. And I was like 5 years old as a little young pup. But even during that time, I've noticed over the years just the change and the growth of the sport. Night racing at Martinsville never has been done before. The sponsorships, the rivalries. It seems like NASCAR has grown from more of a regional sport. It was basically in the Southeast, and now it's grown to we're having races out at the Coliseum in California. We're having a street race in Chicago, and things of that nature. If there was one thing or a handful of things in your lifetime to see how NASCAR has grown, what do you think are some of the biggest changes that you've noticed in NASCAR in your lifetime?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. Several points. Yeah, it used to be a Southeast based sport primarily. We had the track in Riverside, California, and Michigan, and a few out west. But and you said it with that first televised race back in the late '70s with CBS. That was huge. That brought us to so many eyeballs that had never seen NASCAR before. And it happened to be on a day when most of the East Coast was under, a lot of snow. So it was good to keep people in the house and watching that race. That kind of jump started NASCAR's trajectory. The second thing was sponsorship of RJ Reynolds Tobacco Company. That was huge. First sponsorship that this sanctioning body had ever had. Again, that took us to another level of exposure. But I think if you look in totality at the entire 75 years of NASCAR, it's just change is inevitable. And now we're not just a Southeast sport. You mentioned the Coliseum in LA. Who would have ever thought we would be in the LA Coliseum putting on a NASCAR race with all the stars that were there, the entertaining people, now the street race in Chicago, right in the heart of Chicago, downtown Chicago. That was unheard of years ago. Bringing back North Wilkesboro. So we're balancing the old with the new. How do we keep going forward, expanding the footprint of what we have now, and still not overlooking things that made us popular years ago. So, the next 25 years or more, it's going to be incredible on what we will see.
And also, I think you mentioned television too, like with CBS and all the networks. I think every major network that's existence, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, they've all aired races, been on TNT, ESPN. It's just neat to see the growth of television, media coverage, and even more than that, I mean, when I go cover a race at Martinsville, I can tell you right now, seems like NASCAR fans are the most loyal. I mean, they're loyal to the brand, they're loyal to their driver, and they're loyal to even to the sponsorship. So it just seems like it's just so neat to see the media and then the fans kind of go hand in hand with the growth of the sport.
Yeah, you're right. They are. I would put NASCAR fans up against any other sports on the planet as far as being loyal. And that goes back to television and things that really jump started the industry. But, you know, years ago, you had to go to a racetrack to understand or see anything NASCAR related. You go in your grocery store and walk down any aisle, it's probably a good bet you're going to see some product that is touting a driver in NASCAR, whether it be NASCAR itself, a driver, or a car. That used to be unheard of. So things have changed dramatically throughout time. You ask of moments in time that have been special to me. You know, think about Daytona. Our Super Bowl starts the year, it doesn't end the year. We start with our Super Bowl. And I think there have been 4 sitting presidents attend the Daytona 500. And I was there with 3 of them. And Ronald Reagan was one of the first, and I got to meet him. And, you know, for the president of the United States to attend a NASCAR race, I think that speaks volumes. But that was, for a youngster like me, that was pretty cool.
So looking at it now, I mean, like I said, we've seen 75 years. What is your hope or future for the sport? Because I still see just it's recently, even with COVID, we've seen so many innovations and so many changes. I mean, I think the biggest thing that stood out to me, you know, with some of the changes has been the playoff format. Because I remember back in the day, you know, you kind of knew who won the race. I mean, you knew who won the championship. They didn't necessarily have to win the last race.
Right.
And it's
Right.
kind of like that now, but the way the playoff structure has changed has really made it more competitive. But from your perspective, what is your hope or your views or future with NASCAR? What do you hope to see?
Well, I think we're on the right path, and we have been for a number of years. But the things that are really meaningful for us now, and I think it shows. And we've made great strides in things such as diversity, equity, inclusion. We want NASCAR to be open to everyone. The different geographical locations we're going to, we keep expanding that. You know, who knows down the road if we're not, you know, going to other countries. We're worldwide. I don't know. But I think NASCAR doesn't sit still. The great thing about celebrating our 75th anniversary, we get a chance to look back on what got us here, but we're still looking way ahead on where we're going. And I think that's been the key to our success. We don't rest on our laurels. We keep looking forward.
Yeah, I know you'll never tell me this. I mean, who's your favorite racing team or driver or anything? So I'm not even going to ask you that. But what drivers in your lifetime, if you can name a bunch of them, and I kind of know a few of them already, what drivers and what racing teams kind of stood out to you over the last few years that come to
I
mind?
don't mind answering that question. It's this one's easy because, and most people would know the answer that I'm going to give. It's Richard Petty. You know, because I go way back to when I was a kid when he was winning so many races here. So I got to be with him in victory lane many times as a really young tyke. But he was always so, you know, gracious, and I've said it time and time again. They called him the king, but when I was a kid, he treated me like a king and still does. And I think that's the special part about Richard Petty that I hope a lot of drivers coming up through the ranks now would emulate what he does. He meant so much for the sport and still does. I mean, look how long he's been out from behind the wheel, but he's the most recognizable figure that we have in the sport. So Richard would be, you know, there are many others. There are so many that were heroes of mine, and got drivers now that I'm good friends with. But, you know, Richard he would be the king in my viewpoint.
I don't think I ever asked you this question. What was your favorite NASCAR based movie? I mean, my personal one was probably Stroker Ace with Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson and Jim Neighbors and Ned Beatty. But what was your favorite? Did you have a favorite NASCAR movie?
Yeah, that one's easy too. But now I go back before this movie was even made. There was a movie back in the 60s called Red Line 7000. And, you know, I remember going to a drive-in theater to see that, but to see, because that was, you know, that was uncharted territory. You didn't see much racing in movies. So that was the closest thing we had to showing what we're really all about. But the movie that stands out most for me is Last American Hero, which was filmed here. It starred Jeff Bridges, Ned Beatty, Gary Busey, and the finale of that movie was shot here. So go online and find that one. Last American Hero is 1972, I believe. But it was pretty cool because everything concluded here. The whole movie built up to when this guy, Jeff Bridges, made the big time, and he ran and won this race here.
So, so I'm sorry. So let me ask you this. Did he get a grandfather clock?
He didn't. He got, and actually, my grandfather played himself in the movie in Victory Lane. He got to interview and congratulate him in Victory Lane. So that was pretty cool. I'd get home from school. The school bus would drop me off here at the Speedway, and I'd get to walk out there and see what they were doing with the filming of that movie. So that's pretty special.
So I did not know that. So a movie was actually filmed in Martinsville. Were there any other movies or TV shows other than news stuff is ever filmed in Martinsville?
Now, this was the biggest thing, but it was a 20th Century Fox movie. And Jeff Bridges, I mean, look how big he made it through the years. Gary Busey still relevant, but you had some up and coming stars at that point. But the storyline in that movie was pretty cool because he started out on the dirt tracks and the short tracks, and finally made it to the big time. And this is where it all went down.
I guess finally I got to ask you this. So as far as Martinsville is concerned, and obviously Martinsville's a big role in NASCAR, is there anything big that we should expect from Martinsville and NASCAR in general in this 75 years that you can let us in on?
No. No, seriously, Jermaine. I think the one thing that us and our sport, NASCAR, have in common, we're always changing. So when you come back here in April of 2023, you will see something change from the last time you were here. We will celebrate NASCAR 75th throughout the year. That's to be announced what we'll be doing for that. All tracks will, but we'll get to celebrate again. But there will be changes here for 2023, and we look forward to you and everyone else getting out here to see them.
I tell you what, it's amazing. I've become a fan of the sport, and it's neat because when people tell me that the Roanoke Lynchburg market is like a top 5 NASCAR market, I believe it because you can probably draw a 6-hour radius. You're going to hit a bunch of tracks, and that's what's kind of neat about this market and what we've done. And Martinsville being our backyard, it's great to always come down and cover you guys down there. So Clay Campbell, the man, the myth, the legend, the president of the Martinsville Speedway. Thank you so much, sir, for your time, and happy 76th anniversary for Martinsville. Happy 75th anniversary for NASCAR.
Thank you so much, Jermaine.
All right, good deal.